Stand by. The vacuum tubes are warming up. This is a special live broadcast right here on Georgia Radio.
We're continuing our conversation with local Georgia authors today, and none other than Dr. Linda McNay joins us right now talking about fundraising. Linda, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You've written a book for board members, folks involved with nonprofits, actually CEOs, anybody that needs to talk about fundraising. You have a book that is out on this, Fundraising for All, What Every Nonprofit Leader Should Know. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive into this. Who should be reading this book?
Well, we think it's for everyone. It was also a good way for us to occupy ourselves during COVID. We thought it was a good use of our time because we get questions all the time from nonprofits on how they can get their board members and other volunteers on board so that they'll actually help with the fundraising.
I mean, that's a hard thing to do. No one likes going out and shaking the trees and asking for money. And
well, I do, but you're right. Not everybody does. I think of it as sort of a game where you move the chess pieces all around on the board. And the idea is to get the right person to ask the right prospect for the right amount of money at just the right time.
That seems like a real difficult chess game to play. There's a lot of social cues you have to pick up on, too. Does your book address this and hopefully shine some light on this to make it easier for folks?
Well, definitely we try to do that because we don't think it's hard. Fundraising is not really hard. People just think it is. So we can give them some tools that actually makes it easier for them. And then if they practice just a little bit, either with someone else or on their own, they get better and better at it. I've had groups of people after they've either read our book or we've done a training session for them to go, wow, this is easier than I thought. I had no idea. This is sort of fun.
And what do you think the switch is? I mean, what throws that switch?
Well, we give them some cues. Actually, you can raise money for anything at all if you have three things. You have to have a compelling case for support. And every board member and every nonprofit leader needs to know why do they need the money and how much do they need and by when. What are they going to be doing with it? They have to have some committed leaders. Fundraising is definitely not a one-person job. It's a team effort. And then you have to have a plan. You just don't do things randomly. Over the course of the year, there's certain activities that need to take place for the organization to be successful. So we are convinced that if you have those three things, you can raise money for anything.
Well, it's great stuff, and it's all there in the book. Again, Fundraising for All, What Every Nonprofit Leader Should Know. How did you get into to writing, Linda? Because this is one book, but I'm sure you have lots of others in mind.
Well, we do have 5 fundraising books. The first one I wrote, I was working as a fundraising consultant, and I did a lot of work with independent schools because I had worked at my kids' school. And I would go around and meet with headmasters of different schools, and I kept repeating myself. So I finally wrote it all down for them, and then I accidentally got a publisher, and the book came out. So now we use it as a tool for our clients and friends who work in schools, because most headmasters come up as educators, as either teachers or principals, and when they get to be in the CEO chair, they don't really know how to raise money, and they need to.
That's interesting because, you think about that, and we don't raise necessarily in the school world, especially the private school world. We're not raising school headmasters, we're raising educators.
Exactly.
And so it's a totally different mindset.
So I put together a group of headmasters to help me, and I gave them a draft of the book, and they helped me edit it, and we're told it's very useful. So then I did the same thing with a couple of other sectors. I also did a stint working at the High Museum of Art here in Atlanta, and I wrote Fundraising for Museums, which is a similar book. The rules for fundraising are the same, no matter what sector the nonprofit's in. But the stories are different because raising money for art is more difficult.
In what respect?
Well, when you work in schools, like I was working in my kids' school after 9/11, we were still able to raise money because we had people's kids. But nonprofits, like the arts institutions in town, they had trouble raising money because people only wanted to give to disaster relief. So arts comes after all the other needs have been satisfied. So most people will give first to their church or synagogue, then they might give to their college. And part of that reason is colleges and universities have been in the business of raising money a lot longer. Schools are coming on. So arts, they're just last choice, and not everyone cares about the arts. It's the first to go during recession. Giving to arts declines, and it's the last one to come back.
Well, and your book, of course, would help folks if you're in that position. If you're, working for a small town museum, I'm sure you're feeling the pressure on this. Linda, I want to know about you a little bit more because your background's pretty fascinating. Talk to us about how you got into all of this.
Well, when I went to school, I got a business degree and an MBA, and I was going to have my own business and work in corporate. And I learned very quickly after a couple years, I didn't really like it. I didn't like the pressure of the bottom line. So I switched to nonprofits and went to work at my college, Transylvania University in Lexington, Kentucky, at first in admissions, which is sales. We're selling the institution, and then in development. And I found I really loved it. I liked communicating with our alumni and friends and telling them about my experience. And then my husband's an architect, and we moved to Atlanta, and very quickly I worked at Georgia Tech for 5 years and at Emory University. I really thought I'd be in higher education forever. And then along the way, I found that, other nonprofits need to raise money too. And that's when I worked at my kids' school and then, of course, the High Museum. And for the last 12 years, I've had my own business. I took what I knew about business and HR, which is the area of business that I was in. And now our fundraising search, which is the name of our company, we help nonprofits find and keep good development officers. So once we've placed people in this very important role, then we can also train their board or help them with their annual fund or capital campaign, whatever they happen to need.
It's interesting to me that the pressure of the bottom line is what drove you into something that is not only about the bottom line, but it's do or die. Literally, with some of these nonprofits, which
it's been very helpful to use my business skills in the nonprofit environment. And my husband will even say to me, I really like what you do. He said, you get to help organizations every day, because what we do is we help them meet their mission and goals.
Sure.
We just give them the tools.
It just seems it's just another side of the same coin. To me, it seems like it would be almost harder to do what you do, and I think that that's why so many people are going to want to read this book, because if you've ever been in that position, it's just it's not easy, and it's something that, like I said at the start, a lot of folks are uncomfortable with. But Linda, you found a way forward. You've got a book out. Talk to me about 5 books out on this subject of fundraising. Talk to me about the Atlanta Writers Group and the Atlanta Writers Club in particular. I mean, this has been a great resource for a lot of folks in and around Georgia and the Atlanta metro area to understand the process of publishing a book and just, for that matter, getting a book put together. Talk to me about what that means to you.
Well, I came late to the party for that group. I wish I'd known about them much sooner. But when I did learn about them, I think I found them online. I joined, and I have been a member now for years. And it's resources for all types of writers. In my regular day-to-day life, I hang out with mostly fundraisers and people in nonprofits. This is a group of writers from across the board, mystery writers and comedy and fiction. It's so fun to be with them, and we help each other. I have had a wonderful array of opportunities to go to events and meet other people who are trying to share their good work just like I'm trying to.
Well, it's great stuff. Of course, your PhD and your website, ourfundraisingsearch.com. Is that the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
That is, and we'd love to hear from everyone. And if you think this is just for adults, I have one more thing to tell you. We really think that everybody needs to get in the fundraising game, and we even have a children's book. It's called The Adventures of Phil and Thropy. It's about 3 children named Phil, Anne, and Thropy, and as you can see, that spells philanthropy. And We love reading to kids and visiting schools and other groups. We think fundraising for everybody.
If you're uncomfortable with it, 5 different books to help ease that pain and to help really bring it into view much more, I think, easily after reading some of your books. I've read through some of the notes. OurFundraisingSearch.com is the website. Linda, thanks for coming on and sharing with us about fundraising.
Well, thanks so much, and let us know if there's anything else we can do for you.
Georgia Radio, on your phone, in your home, everywhere you go.